Hi, welcome to If I Did It, a show where we analyze and solve PR kerfuffles from an MMA world and beyond. I'm your host, Lexi Auld, and joining me as always is Kid Nate of Bloody Elbow and Eugene S. Robinson from Ozzy.com,
Sorry.
and author of Fight, Everything You Ever Want to Know About Ass Kicking, but we're afraid you get your ass kicked for asking.
Yes, sir.
Now then.
Hey, I tell you about being on that TV show in France, and they didn't give me a translator. And I started thinking, oh, you're going to chump me out. No way. I'm going to answer the question I think you're asking.
Well, that's going to lead us to a question that we have later, Eugene, so that's a nice little, again, preview of what we have to discuss later. But for now, Eugene, you're Anderson Silva. When asked about your unanimous decision loss to Michael Bisping, you replied, quote, "Sometimes it's like in Brazil, total corruption," end quote. Regardless of the result, you were floored twice in the bout by a man with a penchant for pillow-twisted fighting. In addition, your coach told MMA Fighting you thought you cracked your leg and a screw move was limited your movement. With these psychological and physical obstacles affecting your restoration to MMA primacy, is it better for your brand to seek vengeance against Bisping in Brazil, or to take an easier fight and retire before your chin chucks, as in Liddell, your career?
Did you throw it over to me? There was some dropout.
Yeah, that's you. That's your question. You're Anderson Silva, Eugene, the greatest.
Yeah, I heard most of it. I think neither is the correct answer. You know, I mean, at this point, people will not stop calling you the greatest of all time. They will not stop showing the great, highlight reel. None of that shit is going away. You got seven fights left on the contract deal. This is what we call fun fighting. It is what Randy was doing at the end, the what if fighting. I wonder what it'd be like to fight, and then you just fill a name in there. You know, I mean, the name that you're not filling in there is Luke Rockhold. The name that you're not filling in there is Chris Weidman. You got 7 more paydays. You know, go back to Brazil, make the people happy. This is like a bodybuilder I once knew. I said, "Hey man, did you win the competition?" He goes, "I won the love of the people." Fight Bisping again? For what reason? You know,
right?
I mean, if I'm Anderson Silva, I said, why am I going to fight a guy who I beat once already? You know, I'm going to refuse to join the Matt Hamills of the world and live in the past with this. You know, I got it. We care about the growth deltas, that 15% of possible fans. I got a guy who went to an event in England that was testing out a new UFC show 2020, and it was clearly focused all. I'm going to talk about this on the next Knuckle Up, all on that 15% of casual fan, maybe pro wrestling fan. I mean, it's if the jungle wants you dead, it's not so much that the jungle wants you dead, they just don't care. It doesn't matter. When Anderson Silva wins and loses, it doesn't fucking matter. The same numbers of people are showing up. It doesn't matter.
What do you think, Nate?
I think Eugene left one big factor out of his calculations. Brain damage. When you're that old and you're getting hit in the head, it scrambles your brains even more than when you're younger. And so it's just a question, does he want the money or does he want to see his grandkids and be sentient? So I think unless it's a super, super mega fight like George St. Pierre comes out of retirement, that's a fight I would take. Otherwise, if I'm Anderson Silva, the only other fight I could think of would be a rematch with Nick Diaz. And like Eugene said, why would he take a fight with the guy he's already beat? Like, those are the only 2 fights I can think of that are intriguing, where the opponent has the celebrity status to make it worthwhile.
Yep.
And the payoff could potentially be worthwhile in terms of the brain damage you're going to, without doubt, incur. I mean, the Anderson Silva we saw Saturday was not the Anderson Silva of old. He can't slip punches and he can't take punches, and that's a bad combination.
Man,
I don't know that I 100% agree with. Like I said, I finally came to a realization about the shucking and jiving in the cage, that's a technique of his, and he's not going to let that any more than he would have people stop calling him Spider. It's intimately connected to who he is, but I think he's probably a pretty good judge of, you might make that Muhammad Ali slip and push it a little bit, one toke over the line, but I think in this instance, he's probably a pretty good judge how, what's happened, with his upward prospects and his continued prospects. I mean, the shocking thing probably for him, the most shocking thing is that to lose that most favored status, I mean, mean, that fight had been if that fight had happened let me see, if that fight had happened pre-Weidman, there's fucking way that it would have gone the way it went, and you and I both know that, you know. But post-Weidman, it's got to be a shock to wake up and discover you're in that, like to quote to paraphrase Flavor Flav, in that we don't care what the fuck you do zone.
Well, you know, I think
that's a shock.
I think that it
Welcome
was.
to the rest of
the
UFC, baby.
I think it would have gone the same way pre-Weidman in terms of a decision going that way, because the Matt Hamill decision was so. I mean, it took you years to get over that decision, Eugene, and I got over the decision. It was like a horrid, atrocious. Horrible.
By the George.
Whereas this was like, okay, I can kind of see why they did what they did, but the Matt Hamill one was
terrible. And then George Rivera with the eye poke and with the knee in the groin. It's like, you know, to quote Sam Kinison about Whoopi Goldberg, what, everybody's afraid to hurt this guy's feelings? Come on, stop it. You know? Hey, newsflash, how about this? Louis Farrakhan just backed Donald Trump.
Are you kidding me?
I am not kidding you. You can't make this shit up.
Oh, my God.
I wonder if he's going to know what the Nation of Islam is.
What's that?
But we'll save that for later. Does he know what the Nation of Islam is? Will he acknowledge it? Farrakhan, I know who that guy is. But anyway, let's go to the next question. We're going to bookmark that for later.
I thought you said Louis Fairstein. I didn't get the Farrakhan part. I didn't get it. He's a guy I knew from the Bronx.
So Nate, you're Nick Diaz. After posting the memo clowning Michael Bisping's questionable decision victory over Anderson Silva, Bisping called you out. How do you put his fight request on hold while campaigning for your red panty night?
Well, Diaz has got his eye on the prize. He knows exactly how much his brother's making fighting Conor McGregor. He's going to see the whole mayhem. He's going to have a front row seat for his brother, who's virtually a clone of himself. A slightly lesser clone, maybe. A little bit younger, so maybe Nate's catching up with him. But I always thought Nick was slightly the better of the two fighters. He's going to get to see his brother go up against Conor McGregor. If Nate comes up short, that fight sells itself. That is a totally
Billy
natural
Goats Gruff, baby.
Yep, exactly. And unfortunately, there's only two Diaz brothers, so there's no big Billy Goat Gruff coming up to toss the troll off the bridge. But he just needs to ignore Bisping. I mean, who cares about Bisping? I mean, You're talking about big paydays. Bisping should chase Rockhold around and try to get a title shot.
For what? So he could lose vision in that eye? Are you crazy?
At least the dude wants a title shot. This is the culmination of his career. It's what he's always worked for. Bisping should focus on that. I think
Bisping is the British Papis Martinez. You know, every decision he fights, he fights, will be a fight that comes out in his favor.
In Britain, but not necessarily in Las Vegas, which is where a title fight would be. But yeah, no, Nick doesn't need to mess with Michael Bisping. Forget that noise. Just stay on that red panty night track and get that monies.
Yep. Do you agree with that?
Get that money, son. I do. And any phrase that begins or ends with "get that money," I'm okay with.
Oh, speaking of which,
these porn star prostitutes. Thank you. And their phrase was always "get that money." So,
were any of these porn star prostitutes Nazis?
They were not Nazi. Well, there was one. There was one. And we went to her house, and it was like, what's up with all the Nazi memorabilia? She goes, I'm into Nazi memorabilia. I said, yeah, but what's with it? She goes, probably because I'm a Nazi. I go, all right. Okay.
That's charming. Hey, can I throw the curveball? What about the Catholic priest who was caught on camera snorting coke in a room filled with Nazi paraphernalia? How do you get out of this one, Eugene?
Oh, he's already gotten out of it. He had a moment of flex room where there was some question about whether it was just a bullshit internet fake thing, and then right away the people at the Daily Mail got a hold of the guy's name, his parish, and it was like, I quit, you're fired. You're fired, I quit. I quit, you're fired. As soon as the Daily Mail came with it, they probably had to hold it just for them to type that last sentence, and he is on a leave of absence. You know, and he's like, fuck. He did come out, his last blast was, look, I'm not a Nazi. I collect a lot of historical memorabilia. I can't explain the cocaine. See you later.
See, well, I think the telling thing was he snorted all the cocaine on the table, which, as I've heard, is a party foul.
Yes.
Why
couldn't
he just blame that white powder that was mysteriously appearing all over Manhattan years ago that was supposed to be terrorist, anthrax. And in some situations was cocaine. I mean, that's what he just said. Look, you know what? Terrorists came in, this white powder substance, I don't know.
I got robbed. I thought I was buying cocaine. It was baby powder. It's not against the law. I want to maintain my position.
Drawn by my Nazi memorabilia, and so I needed to snort up the cocaine before they could get in there.
Or he could say it was a trap. He actually had anthrax. He thought it was anthrax. He had the Nazi memorabilia in there to trap Nazis. They're going to come in, think that they're in a safe place. They're going to start partying, thinking they're going to snort up some coke, reliving old times, and croak, almost like a Rasputin-esque type of party. And that's what happened.
I see. Well,
it was a selfless act of bold Christianity, throwing himself like that right in front of that cocaine.
Throwing his nose right there.
Yes, heroic. All right, next question.
He's about to have sex with this really hot chick who you know is just bad for him, and you selflessly throw yourself between them and have sex with her instead to save him from months and years of heartache and possibly venereal disease. I would do that for my brother.
Speaking about your brother, doing it for your brother. You're Michael Jordan. It's got to be the shoes, Eugene, as in your new Air Jordan 12.
Michael Jordan, the black Joe DiMaggio?
If you wish, which Nike continued its practice of overhyping and understocking your shoes, this time according to WGN at an Illinois mall, which resulted in, quote, tempers flaring, end quote. As these new shoes, dubbed the Master, celebrate the 20th anniversary of your Nike relationship, which has inspired what ESPN has dubbed, quote, high-profile senseless crimes, end quote, including shootings, strangulations, and baseball bat beatings. What PR moves do you make, Mike, when called out for your callousness to these cleat calamities?
You know what Mike does? Mike looks up from that big stack of money and goes, I'm sorry, what did you say? Yeah, I thought so. 1,000,002, 1,000,003, 1 million. Michael Jordan, the biggest act of magic, legerdemain that Michael Jordan managed to pull off was when he actually convinced people he was a nice guy. Michael Jordan's not a nice guy. Michael Jordan, like I say, the black Joe DiMaggio has never been a nice guy. Going back to Charlotte, not a nice guy. Nice guys finish last. He didn't finish last, did he? Not a nice guy, man. I mean, the persistent problems of the underclass. I mean, Mike Tyson doesn't even show up at Thanksgiving and give away free turkeys like Mike Tyson did. You know, he's like, fuck you, and fuck you. Persistent problems of the underclass are your problem, not my problem. You want to get to where I am? Go play some basketball.
With my shoes.
You know, these guys' lesser or worser instincts are always seem to kind of coalesce post the death of their fathers. If you think about Tiger Woods, you think about Michael Jordan, at least the father at some point was a mitigating factor. Like, you know, even if it's just from the cynical point of view of like, you know, you got a son. This is looking bad. They did seem to have an effect. Post facto, man, I don't got time for that. You know, it's like, you know, when I interviewed Evander Holyfield, he had some obligation to go back to the hood. He said he felt a personal inner obligation to go back to the hood. He said he went back to the hood and he looked at me and he goes, I'll never do that again. He goes, I'll send the check, but I'm not, you know, he's like, motherfuckers were coming up. He's like, he mimed this locking the doors and driving quickly out of the fucking hood. It's like, you know, these guys, he has been wealthy since he was like 19. Come on, man. You know, what other multimillionaire gives a fuck about the people that made them multimillionaires? You got to wake up and smell the coffee. Everybody's not Bill Gates. I care about malaria, you know. Most people are not like that, actually.
What about you, Nate?
Well, I think the one thing Eugene left out was that the 1,000,001, the 1,000,002. Okay, I paid off that bookie. Now 1,000,001. Oh. He's got gambling debts, dude. The dude allegedly, that's what I heard, that he gambles a lot, and so he's got bills to pay. He doesn't have checks coming in. The Air Jordans are a big thing for him. He hasn't played b-ball in a long time. His baseball career didn't pan out. Have some sympathy for Michael. I mean, He's up in his ivory tower. He's rolling around in money. He's probably not even. His people don't even tell him these things. His people don't even tell him these things, Alexei. He'd probably do something about it.
Well, you know why? The people don't tell me these things because he pulls the chimp chill out, also known as the Hollywood fade, to anybody. You show up at work and suddenly your key card doesn't work. Call in. Hey man, I'm at the front gate. My key card doesn't work. Yeah. You know what? Michael was thinking that maybe you needed a little bit of a rest. So, but when should I? You know what? Why don't you go home now and I'll call you later. Well, later when? Later.
Yeah, that's why as people don't tell him, it's the darndest thing. So you can't really blame Michael for things he's not even aware of.
Man.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is,
say that, hey, hire me to be that person. He don't want to hear that shit. And speaking about hearing, Nate, you're Donald Trump.
It's an easy fit.
In 2000, you denied a Reform Party presidential nomination because, quote, the Reform Party now includes a Klansman, Mr. Duke, end quote, among others who you said, quote, this is not company I wish to keep, end quote. Last week on CNN, you refused to reject David Duke's 2016 endorsement of your presidential aspirations, claiming you didn't know who he was. You also claimed ignorance about the Ku Klux Klan. After the inevitable shitstorm, you blamed a bad earpiece for your answer and tweeted you're disavowing the endorsement.
A bad hairpiece?
Did you say hairpiece? I didn't get that either.
It's very confusing to hear. It's not a hairpiece. It's all natural hair. It's filmed weekly by the stylist.
So if this thing starts working again, why didn't you wait until winning Super Tuesday before correcting the record?
You asking me or you asking Nate?
I'm asking.
Nate.
These pieces. Nate.
Listen.
Nate.
What they don't understand, what people are having a hard time understanding, it's what? I'm sorry, was it Nate? Did I just talk over Nate?
You asked if it was your turn or not, and then you just keep talking when you're told no, it wasn't your turn.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I wasn't listening to either of you because I had earplug problems.
Right, that's what would have happened. That's totally what would have happened. You would have had some kind of other conversation. But anyway, Nate, go on ahead.
Well, first off, in 2000, as everybody knows, Donald Trump was a liberal Democrat. So he was much more concerned about issues like this back in the day. These days, he's a hard-charging, hard right-wing Republican, and he can't busy himself with the facts, and he doesn't want to alienate any key constituencies going into Super Tuesday. You know who votes in the Republican primary on Super Tuesday? David Duke voters. There's a lot of people that are, we've got multiple elected GOP officials. One dude in Louisiana, congressman, introduced himself as, I'm like David Duke without the baggage. And now he's like the number 3 guy in the U.S. House of Representatives. Alabama Senator Jeff Sessions endorsed Trump after all this shit. So, this isn't losing him votes. So, I think the retweeting the Mussolini quote was actually Donald's bigger PR kerfuffle this week. He needs to be careful. Tweeting with abandon is key to his brand and key to his appeal, but those late night tweets can get you in trouble. And if people are smart, they're going to be, and they are, they're coming after him on Twitter and they're baiting him with traps. And so he needs to maybe get a second eye on some of these tweets he's throwing out. Yes, Trump traps.
But you don't listen. I was in a store once getting a T-shirt made. And this old lady is behind the counter, and she's listening to Rush, and her whole little cubby hole.
Rush Limbaugh, not the Canadian prog rock.
Yeah, Rush Limbaugh, and her whole cubby hole is Rush, is number one, all this stuff. And I go, so, you're a fan of Rush? And she said, oh, I love that guy. I go, didn't he just get out of jail? She goes, what? What are you talking about? I said, I thought he just got out of jail. She goes, where'd you see that? I said, I read it in the newspaper. He was buying pills and OxyContin, and he was in and out. He was convicted. And she goes, did you read that in the paper? I go, yeah, I read it in the paper. So she goes, you can't believe what you read in the paper. So what Trump is doing, that it's mind-boggling to me that at this point now it's just Republican opposition. Keep in mind, the Republican opposition is after him now. The Democratic opposition is holding their fire. But the Republican opposition is not used to attacking their own. So what they're trying to do is clumsily, with like the Michael Corleone thing. We have friends at newspapers. They might like a story like that. They're floating these stories, but these people are so attuned to dog whistle, the mechanics of dog whistle. What they're looking for is for somebody to sidestep that familiar two-step of, I got, now I come out and apologize for getting got. And what they enjoy about Trump is that it's like a tightrope walker, and the wind blows, and his foot dips. Oh my God, he's gonna fall! But he just keeps walking. That's what's loved about him. You know, it's like, because they're right now, that woman who's rushing up, they're trying to get Trump. They're trying to get the Donald. They're trying to get. He ducked him again. Oh, his earpiece was out. Ah, good one. It won't make a fucking bit of difference. You watch. I mean, and it's not even like we have to wait a week to see whether I'm right or not. Check back in at 2 o'clock today if you're on the West Coast, 5 o'clock East Coast time, and see what happens with Super Tuesday.
Well,
you don't realize they've lost control of the fucking narrative. You know?
And that's what's so funny about it, Eugene, what you just mentioned is the fact that he didn't disavow it at first was enough. Because people are going to say, when he disavows, they're going to say, well, what else did you think he was going to do? Of course he has to now say he doesn't agree with it. But we know he's still our boy. You know, it's one of those kind of wink, wink, nod, nod kind of dynamics.
And, you know, all he's got to do, I mean, it's just the Republican playbook shit all over again. All he's got to do is go far right, tack to the middle for the general, and then, you know, game over. So it's not like, none of this is surprising to me at all. What's surprising to me is how flummoxed the Republic. I mean, really, and then Marco Rubio is making fun of the dude's cock at a conference. You gotta be kidding me. You know, you don't fight with pigs because you get in the mud. Look at and Rubio is the last person who should be talking about other men's penises right about now.
Right.
It's very true. Did you hear what Trump did yesterday at Valdosta State in Georgia, where he threw 30 black kids who were students at the university that were quiet, that were just silently watching his rally. He had them thrown out. Security told him, this is Trump's building. Trump owns this building. You're out of here. And, like, apropos of being black. So
yeah, this was Trump's sister soldier moments.
Yes.
And then people are gonna look at the Hillary thing with that super predators must be brought to heel and go, well, she's doing the same thing. You can't. It's tic-tac-toe, and you're not Xing this guy out. No fucking way. Watch what happens today.
Yeah, it's gonna be ugly if you're a Cruz or Rubio supporter. Although Cruz should win Texas. And
something that you said before that I mentioned again on Knuckle Up that is resonating majorly. It's like everybody who's in New England, you know, major Oregon, these crunchy states are like shocked that Sanders got trounced in South Carolina. Get ready for more of that, baby. You know, I mean, you know, a friend of mine, her husband used to be the business finance manager for Leonardo DiCaprio, and she was the CEO of a company. And she's telling me, she said she lived in Franklin, Tennessee, which is outside of Nashville. And she's saying, you know, it's funny, I went to my dentist today, and I think I realized that he was in the Ku Klux Klan. I go, what do you mean he was in the Ku Klux Klan? She goes, he had Klan stuff on the wall. I go, well, maybe it was memorabilia. Like, I'm actually arguing the guy's case, you know, because it just seems too easy that a guy from Franklin, Tennessee, and she goes, I asked him about it, and he goes, oh, it's just like a fraternity. I go, your fucking dentist is copping to be in the fucking Klan. Do you really think that this is a place that's going to be kindly disposition for Sanders? Come on.
We'll find out. We'll
you didn't find out. Look, I'll hold my breath.
So, speaking of breath holding, Eugene, your former Polish president, Lech Walesa. Accusers. You sound like when I was trying to play it.
That's Lech Walesa.
How to pronounce it correctly. It was over and over and over and over again. It's one of these things where you read and don't, whatever. Accusers allege that you collaborated with the Polish secret police for money before creating your Solidarity movement, which ushered a Polish democratic era and crushed communism. How do you prevent these claims from undermining your legacy?
You're asking me first?
Yes.
Yeah, listen, let me tell you right now, we are in 100% crazy time in Poland. The Peace Party, PIS, Law and Democracy Party, is super lunatic right-wing party in Poland. Now, when I say super lunatic, it means that they are so deeply in bed with the Catholic Church, they make it, they've turned Poland into an altar boy, essentially. Hey, I ever tell you about that magazine I want to put out called Altar Boy? The magazine for the wayward priest.
Oh,
Okay, but everything that happens now in Poland, I wrote a piece about this guy Jan Sova, a professor, and there's another guy who does this big benefit to raise money for children's charities. People are saying the church should do this. He's not with the church, therefore we want to reject the $60 million he's dedicating to children's hospitals because it comes from Satan. The equivalent of a Polish congressperson said this as they sat in a cafe, recorded it in a secret conversation, laughing about people who make less than 6,000 zlotys a month as being layabouts and work-shy individuals, when in actual fact, that's really super fucking common. It's crazy time. They want to break with the EU, and they also are not interested at all in any overtures that Vladimir Putin is making. So they are trying to chart a new course, and to do that, you must kill all of your enemies. You know, and having this guy being a well-loved, I mean, for me, it was enough that he was allied with the church and was anti-abortion, and I mean, these are the true stories about Lech, you know, anti-abortion, that had right-wing sympathies. It wasn't enough. He had to be brought to heel, and this is part of that campaign. And you're going to see increasingly strange maneuvers like this over the upcoming months. You know, they went into NATO office and say, we're in control here. You know, they showed this movie called Ida, which was about a Jewish girl who had been raised as a nun and then discovered she had a sister, and they went back and found out that their Polish neighbors had thrown them to the Nazi wolves and taken their property. They just showed this on Polish national TV last week. Underneath it, they had a crawl in which PiS, the ruling party, had indicated that this was propaganda. You know, these crawls that said this was a rumor, that the Polish people were as much victims as anybody else, rolling during the whole movie underneath it. You know, it's crazy time in Poland now. Believe nothing. It's George Orwellian Brave New World. Look, it's crazy. So take it with a grain of salt.
What's your take, Nate?
Well, my 2 cents, I agree with all that Eugene's saying about how crazy PiS is. But the other thing is, in the 70s in Poland, if you were active at all in any kind of dissident activity, there was no margin for error. And the KGB, or the Polish equivalent, they were all up in your business. You had to talk to them. You had to deal with them somehow, or they're just going to drag you off in a dark room and pull your fingernails out one by one. So we don't know what Lech told him. We don't know that he told him anything. I mean, like Eugene said, we can't necessarily trust the veracity of this, but I'm not surprised at all. Anybody involved in dissident activities is going to have a relationship with the secret police. The key thing is, did he tell him anything important or not? And honestly, does it really fucking matter? We know what the guy did for the country of Poland. He broke the back of communism as much as any one person. And his alliance with the Catholic Church was pretty pivotal to that. John Paul II was Polish, and you know, you can have your beefs with the Catholic Church, but I'll take them over the Communist Party and dictator rule anytime. So I think, I don't know, Lech's in a bad spot. I don't know what he can do, especially like Eugene's saying, with PiS tilting the scales. They've got control of the government. They've got control of the media. He can fight it as much as he can, but he's only one who knows what's true or not, and he doesn't even necessarily know what's in these papers. These were in the personal papers of a very high-ranking communist official. They're believed to be authentic. There have been previous papers like this come out and allegations made, and they were debunked. And Walesa always came out and said, this is bullshit, this is bullshit. This time I've yet to hear what he has to say about it. I really don't know what to tell him, because he's in a situation where he has very few cards to play with this government in Poland. So, you know, stick to your story, tell people the truth, and ride on your rep, man. I mean, you're Polish national hero. You know, just keep fighting.
Yep. And the thing is, if you don't think these guys, that the PiS party is running a tight ship, you go to the comments section underneath my Jan Sova piece, S-O-W-A at Ozzy, and you look, and strangely, these incredibly literate anti-Jan Sova pieces, I mean, I hashtagged it, hashtag Poland, within hours. These incredibly literate anti-responses, pro-government responses, littered my page. There are like 80+ comments, many of them from people that seem to, Jan Sova is a communist plant, Jan Sova hates Poland, Jan Sova is a Satanist. This doesn't represent, but they ran an effective campaign this way, while the kind of left-center guy was napping and refused to run a Western-style campaign at all. These guys what is that? Mobilized and snatched it with only like 17% of the people voting. They got into power, and they're paying attention. They're paying attention.
17%?
Something. It was 17 or 27. It was really, really low, you know. So it's like, you know, they care enough about little old Ozzy to 80 comments, you know, attacking. They didn't attack me, but they attacked Silva because I guess he's in country. The guy's in Warsaw, and I actually felt bad. You know, he and I were talking online afterward. It's like, oh, you really got the neocons here. It's like, hey, man. You know, I'm living in California, Jack. You're in Warsaw. You might actually, you know, you might be careful, you know. I mean, you can't. It's like when I was going to do a whole issue of Birth of Tragedy magazine and dedicate it to like white supremacy because I thought it was hilarious. And then I realized, I think if I went to a gun show, this guy had the sticker on his table about next time your daughter brings home a nigga, we should have picked our own cotton. And I'm just laughing and laughing. And the guy's watching me walk up to a table. And at first, he's got this look of white defiance on his face. And then he sees me smiling, and he was like, "Oh yeah, he." And then he realizes I'm not laughing with him. I'm laughing at him. I'm like, "Hey man, I want to buy a whole box of those stickers, you know." And then a buddy of mine who I'm there was, "What are you gonna do with those?" I said, "I'm gonna put them on my car." And he goes, "Yeah, but when you leave your car, nobody will know that you're joking." And then I go, "Oh, yeah, you're right, sorry." And then the guy was like offended that I was laughing at him. Yeah, you should have picked your own fucking cotton. But the reality of it is, those guys are not playing around. So I shit can the issue because it's like, you know, you don't jump in a cage with lunatics, man. Lunatic shit happens. So if I were Jan Silva, I would be mindful of, I'd be concerned.
So speaking about shit cans and situations, it brings us to our teachable moment. Eugene, you're Melissa Harris Perry. After MSNBC notified you about once again preempting your news show to air election coverage, you gambled with the nuclear option, walking off and writing, quote, "I am not a token, mammy, or little brown bobblehead. I am not owned by NBC News Chairman Andy Lack, MSNBC Chief Phil Griffin, or MSNBC. I love our show. I want it back." End quote. MSNBC replied by terminating their relationship with you. How do you spin your suicidal strategy to reassure future broadcast partners that when you're sitting at their table and the chips are down, you won't whip out the race card?
You know what, man? You ever see that Dave Chappelle thing where keeping it real goes wrong? And at the conclusion of a big meeting, one of his white mentor leads across, goes, "Give me 5, buddy." And he's like, "You know, you can't just shake my hand like a man." And, you know, there are times when you need to remember who the fuck you are. Remember the thing about diplomacy being, say, a nice doggy till you get your hand on the rock? I think Melissa, MHP, Melissa Harris Perry, will find that she has no rock in her hand. You know, it's like, look, Trump is ratings. He's like the guy Leslie Moonves said. He goes like, "Hey, Trump has been really good for CBS. You know, the ratings are great. The guys' ratings are great. Right. Yeah, we're not political. We make no apologies. You bring us ratings, we love you. You know, so it's you. What kind of leverage do you have now? Yeah, you took a 100-foot cliff dive into making a stand. I got 2 words for you, okay? And this is kind of a reach, but you'll understand what I mean when I say them. Taylor Dayne. You remember Taylor Dayne? Yeah, there you go. Taylor Dayne has been fucking huge. I asked my kids, one of who's 13 and the other who's 17, if they had heard of Taylor Dayne, had no idea. I could go down that list. Tiffany, Debbie Gibson, somebody that's 13-year-old, 17-year-old might know. They're gone. This shit's ephemeral. Like Buzz Osborne from the Melvins said, if you are privileged enough to be in a position to be an entertainer, you know, you got to hold on for as long, because it's littered with guys like David Cassidy. Hey, didn't you used to be David Cassidy? Yeah, used to. Now he's getting mugshotted. You know, I mean, I like people making a stand. I like it, but, you know, that guy who stood up before the Nazi tribunal in France and, you know, Vive la France, and then they shoot him. All right, good for you, buddy. You know, they're old Nazis going to the supermarket right now in Hamburg having a great old time. You blew it, to quote Peter Fonda. You know, it's too soon to tell if MHP blew it, but the reality of it is what you suggest is extant in people's minds. I don't want this as a PR problem, you know? She's not a team player. That's what people are saying. So what does she find now? A home on BET? Great.
Or YouTube. What do you think, Nate?
She screwed herself. I mean, the reality of it is, if you're at the bottom of the food chain hosting a talk show, you're going to get preempted. That is just the facts of cable television or radio or wherever you are. I know people with radio shows, they're at Schultz on MSNBC, you get preempted more than you have your time slot sometimes. You just play ball. You know, there's different ways to complain. She could have complained in the office. She could have even taken some of this stuff public, like, if you'd like to see my show, tweet at my boss, you know. Sorry we got preempted again. If you're upset about it, tweet the boss. That's a little bit of guff. But coming out there and playing the race card and getting all righteous, she went way over the line, and she has very little leverage. She had some leverage while she had the show. But now that she doesn't have the show, she ain't got shit.
Yep.
So
What should she do? What should she do in terms of either spinning it, or is she going to have to be like, you know, doing?
Well, she needs to do something quick to get her name out there and get a new deal while her name is still fresh from this controversy. But the media Borg tends to close ranks against people that bite the hand that feeds, like she did. So I don't know what she can do. YouTube might be your best option.
But you know what? You just said something there that is pretty interesting, if she's expecting cover from a counter cover from another network, that's not going to be forthcoming.
Right.
What she should do is what Roland Martin did, who left it on a different circumstance under his own steam, but immediately made that Mark Maron jump to Louis C.K. where they come say we're gonna go. That scares the shit. It's like that line from that movie Big Bad Wolves. Maniacs are not scared of guns. Maniacs are scared of other maniacs. TV people are not scared of TV people. TV people are scared of the fucking internet. You should have used that shit. Oh, we've been preempted again. If you'd like to see the show, go to my Twitter feed, go to my website, go to my podcast, and all of a sudden, the people inside the fence see people leaving, and they go, oh, shit, no. I want them to sit here and buy drinks. Bring it back in.
Why is Eugene falling into a barrel? Who hears the echo? Like, where's the echo coming from?
Well, it's going round robin. First it was you who was echoing.
Huh. Oh, well, my fault. My bad.
So, what should she? But now that it's happened already, Eugene, what do you suggest she do?
Have a hot bath and some jasmine tea, man, because you're done.
Yeah, I'm thinking. I mean, what do you do when the horses run out? You close the gate. You say, next time I get a horse, I'll leave the gate closed.
Yeah.
I mean, it's an even chance about whether she's a trivia question a year from now. She could bounce. Look, let's talk about Brian Williams. He's not going to be Brian Williams. Like, look, Elliot Spitzer. Elliot Spitzer was given a show after being dismasted, and I guarantee you, even after beating up the Russian chick in the hotel room, allegedly, that this guy will be given another chance because he plays ball.
Right.
You don't play ball, man.
The difference between playing ball and yeah. Yeah, no, I agree. I think what she should do is, you look at, there's a lot of opportunity. She has the positive thing about this happening now, if there is a positive, is there is an actual means for her to be able to get her voice and her opinion distributed to the masses via YouTube and the internet. She could do that. She's not going to have the same platform that she has on television, but it's a platform, and you see people like the Young Turks and other individuals and groups that are able to utilize this vehicle to be able to broadcast their perspectives and have some kind of celebrity. So, she can go. I think she just goes with that as soon as possible, while people are still talking about her. As soon as possible, like even if it's something like doing a Google Hangout, like just get on there. Yep. Give your people that want to see you an opportunity to see you ASAP. Keep the ball rolling. Show that you can be a professional by continuing your show, even without MSNBC. And don't harp on what you did and what happened. You move on, you show that you can continue to have output, and if you get to the point in which people want to put you on, that probably means you're successful on your own anyway, and you probably don't need it as much, or your terms for negotiation are a lot better than they would have been. So that's what I would suggest you do, is just go on ahead. It happened, you blew it, move on, see what you can do, truly test whether or not you have the platform you thought you had. Do your followers really care about you, or are they just talking some smack and trying to up their Twitter profile? Anyway, that's what I would suggest that she do. I don't see anything else.
It's touchy because the attention span of anybody who's tied in the media at all is really short.
Yep.
I mean, was she as big of a star as Taylor Dayne? Nope.
Tell it to my heart, man.
There you go.
Tell me I'm the only one. Is this really love or just a game? Taylor Dayne, also the crying game. I was thinking about that. First there are kisses, then there are sighs, then before you know where you are, you're saying goodbye. It's like all of these things that's in the ether that were told about just how ephemeral things are and temporary things are, and we don't really pay attention until it happens. Just like the next segment. The Lost Battalion, Eugene. Who's in it this week, or who's in the Phantom Toll Booth?
Well, I'm gonna make a controversial pick for the Lost Battalion, and I'm gonna say, and I know there's gonna be some upset, but I want those who are upset to take a breath and just relax a bit. And you know that I'm right. Michael Bisping, Lost Battalion.
Oh.
Remember, the defining feature of Lost Battalion is lack of awareness of your presence in the Lost Battalion. You're in the mist. You think it's just mist. That's all over the world. No, it's just you. It is just you. So this talk about, he's gonna, maybe you want to challenge for the, but man, like they told Ruben Blades in Crossover Dreams, to paraphrase maybe, so where you're touring, you're gonna tour my ass. That's where you're touring. You're not fighting for any fucking belt. At this point now, you're paychecking your way to retirement. You're nowhere. You're really nowhere.
So you think it's better to be a what-ifer?
The reality of it is, Anderson Silva is also nowhere, but I think Anderson Silva knows he's nowhere, and so therefore he's just Phantom Toll Booth. So it's Bisping's. I beat one of the greats. I have the honor, and I'm back. And people are talking about his footwork and his work rate and how tough he is. Are you fucking kidding? Here's another. I'll give you 2 more words. Luke Rockhold. Okay. Bisping needs to think about those 2 words and really realize that mist is just for him, and he's out there in it.
Well, it's kind of interesting because it's one of these things where, is it better? You've addressed this in your show, Eugene, and I think it's so significant, being in touch and aware of who you are, right? Really understanding who you are.
Hey, to quote the guy, Hal, whatever his last name is, from Magnum Force, good man knows his limitations.
Right. So the question is it better? This is the thing that's always up in the air, right? Is it better to have people wondering, well, what if, he beat Anderson Silva? Imagine if it happened. Imagine if he had his chance. Imagine if stuff was really on the line. Is it better for your legacy, and also I guess for your financial situation maybe, to leave on that note and then always be able to come back to it, as opposed to going against Luke Rockhold or going against somebody who's going to knock your ass out and have people say, hey, no, there's no way. Oh, yeah, we forgot who Michael Bisping was. Yeah.
No, look, there's no, due to the dearth of clocks that run backwards, there's no going back. There's no hanging back for him. Unless his next fight is Luke Rockhold in the next 12 months, what the fuck are we talking about? Talking about a guy who's got one eye left. Come on, man. The only people that want to see him fight Luke Rockhold are people with ill intentions, sadists. I'm not a super huge fan, but I don't want to see him fight Luke Rockhold because I don't want to see him get hurt. That doesn't serve anybody. I saw him get as hurt as I want to see him get with Dan Henderson and the flying fist of death. I actually, no matter how
Let's
much,
not pretend
there's
you
not a
didn't-
single fighter I can think of who I want to see get really hurt. Even if I don't like them, I don't want to see this.
Yeah, crocodile tears, crocodile tears. Bisping. I mean, do you think Nate Quarry regrets stepping up and taking the title fight against Rich Franklin, even though he got demolished, even though that highlight is the only thing people remember about him in the UFC? No way. Fighting for the UFC title is a once-in-a-lifetime experience. Very, 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 very few people get that opportunity.
I think Nate Quarry does regret it. I think Nate Quarry is angry about it. I don't think Nate Quarry has been the fucking same. I think he's probably one of the most bitter men alive. That's what I think about Nate Quarry.
Well,
Could Nate Quarry have lived his? Yeah, there would have been. Look. If he hadn't had that fight, that would have left him comfortable flex room in realizing, man, if I'd only been given a shot. How does it feel when somebody comes and sweeps all the cards off the table and you got nothing? You got no flex room. Your dreams are dead. You've got nothing. How does that feel? I mean, at least I can say, man, I got a raw deal. I got a raw shape. Man, if Leonard Part 6 had been a top flight movie, maybe I'd feel like Tom Cruise. I got that what-if flexibility. If you don't have that what-if flexibility, you got nothing but dead dreams, man. That's a worse place to be than the Lost Battalion, a place where that's like a Major Tom, where it's you looking at you, taking a real good look at your own face forever. Man, that's a tough place to be. I don't ever want to be there. There are people I know who are like that, usually bad fathers. When you do shit that you can't undo. There's only one way out from that, and to quote Jack Grisham from TSOL, there's only one way out, and that's death.
Or a second family. And I think Bisping start over and do it right the second time. I think is a classic. But
Is he suggesting Bisping goes to Bellator? Come on.
No, Bisping's got this rare opportunity because the middleweight division bulldozed itself with Yoel Romero beating Jacare and then getting busted for PEDs. There's nobody else out there. It's either recycle Chris Weidman, who's made himself more and more irrelevant every time he opens his mouth, or book Bisping versus Rockhold. This is Bisping's opportunity. This is what he's been living for a decade or more. He needs to seize the moment. Even if he gets blitzed, he gets blitzed. He got blitzed by Dan Henderson. He survived it. He recovered. He came back.
How's his eyes?
It's bad. But that wasn't from the Dan Henderson fight. That was from the Alan Belcher fight that he won. And
the thing is, of this, I'm right. If I were Luke Rockhold and the Baldwin starts saying, all right, I got an idea. You and Bisping at the O2 Center in London, I'd be like, oh, no. Nah. I can smell what the Baldwin is cooking. No thanks. I'll take it in Vegas, baby.
Well, that's good advice for Rockhold. I think Bisping needs to stick to his guns, find out his chain, find out what he's made of, see what his ceiling is.
Yeah, and I'd like it duly noted that Kid Nate is a sadist. So take that advice under advisement. It's not good advice.
And I think, at the end of the day, don't we all have a little sadism in us, especially for watching MMA? And on that note,
but look at the math. Look at the math. Okay, so Luke Rockhold's next fight is when?
We don't know.
No, I mean, I thought, who's he fighting next? He's got a.
I don't think it's an official. I don't think it's an official determination that's been made. There's still rumblings.
Okay, well, it's probably not going to be Bisping.
I don't know. It was going to be Yoel Romero, and they got nothing. He's
and it was supposed to be at 199 and not 200. I remember that rumor that it was going to be at UFC 199 and not 200, and he was kind of bummed about that.
Yeah, he wants to get on the 200 card. He's eyeing a mid-year return. He doesn't want to be on UFC 199. That's all we know right now, because all his dance partners knocked themselves down and out. So yeah. Bisping's a great fight for Luke Rockhold. High profile, not too challenging. That's
okay. And it won't be in London. So
it won't be in London.
Yeah, but I'm still saying that's not a fight the world needs to see. I'm sorry.
Well, we'll find out.
You're going soft.
If he emerges from that fight blind, you will look at me and say, Eugene, you were right.
Well, we'll see. We'll see. Have I ever said that before?
To your detriment, no.
Well, on that note, thanks for joining us. Follow us on Twitter at Eugene S. Robinson, at Kid Nate, at Alexi Old. Please give us a thumbs up, Eugene.
Thumbs up, baby.
And leave comments on YouTube. Subscribe to MMANation.com on YouTube and MMA Nation on iTunes.
And I got news for you. The guy who keeps leaving the racist comments under Knuckle Up, the YouTube channel. We could keep it like Tony Montana says. We could keep this up all day. You're looking to offend me. You're using the wrong tact. It's not going to offend me. But let's keep doing it.
And then visit Eugene on Ozzy.com so you can read some more and have more fuel for this stuff. And be sure to check the three of us out on Amazon.com. We'll be back next week with another installment, If I Did It. And we don't know what we're going to be talking about yet because the PR mistakes have yet to be made. And a lot of them will be made tonight, Super Tuesday.